Ventures. Vinesh bro, Philio bro, hi, hello, hello, hi, Hiro bro, hi, Daisy bro, hi. Good evening. எப்படி இருக்கீங்க எல்லாரும்? All good? Super, super, super. So first of all, I want to start the session by saying thank you to the universe because it's been a very wonderful day. இன்னைக்கு actually நல்லா மழை வர காலையில இருந்து எல்லா ஈவெண்ட்டுக்கும் ஏதாவது ஒன்று இப்படி வந்து மாட்டிடுது. ஸோ எங்களுக்கு கொஞ்சம் பயமாக தான் இருந்துச்சு. சரி ஓகே மழை வருது எப்படி எல்லாருமே வரப்போகிறாங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ட்ராவல் பண்ணி திருப்பூர்லேருந்து அபினேஷ் ப்ரோ வந்திருக்காங்க, கோயம்புத்தூர்லேருந்து வந்திருக்காங்க, டிஃப்ரெண்ட் திருநெல்வேலி தூத்துக்குடியிலேருந்து வந்திருக்காங்க. ஸோ எப்படி இருக்கும் போது வருஷம் பட் பை காட்ஸ் கிரேஸ் அண்ட் தேங்க்யூ டு த யூனிவர்ஸ் ஃபார் மேக்கிங் அஸ் bring all together on this beautiful day. இன்னைக்கு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கான ஒரு இன்டராக்டிவான பேனல் செஷன் தான் இருக்க போகுது. And first of all, thank you so much for Kannan sir for coming to our ecosystem. Chennai ecosystemக்கு எங்கள் ஃபவுண்டர்ஸ் எல்லாரையும் பார்த்து வந்ததுக்கு on behalf of Entrepreneurs and Madras Club, welcome you to Chennai and thank you so much. Can you give us a big round of applause? சார் இப்போ வந்திருக்கிறது எல்லாருமே அண்ட் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து சார் வந்து தமிழ் பேசுவாங்க. ஸோ அதனால் ஜாலியாகவே நம்ம இன்னைக்கு இந்த செஷன் எடுத்துகிட்டு போகலாம். ஸோ இன்னைக்கு நிறைய ஃபவுண்டர்ஸ் D2C கன்சூமர் பிராண்ட்ஸ் பில்ட் பண்ணுற ஃபவுண்டர்ஸ் வந்திருக்காங்க சார். ஸோ வில் ஸ்டார்ட் திஸ் பேனல் பை வி வுட் லவ் டு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் மோர் அபவுட் யுவர் ஜேர்னி சார். ஸோ டாபர் இந்தியாவில் இருந்திருக்கீங்க, யூனிலிவரில் இருந்திருக்கீங்க, நிறைய FMCG பிராண்ட்ஸ் அந்த செக்மெண்ட்டில் இண்டஸ்ட்ரியில் இருந்திருக்கீங்க. Can you share some, throw some spotlight about your journey sir, to us?
Sure. But first I must say that, I never thought there would be so many D2C founders in Chennai. எனக்கு நம்பவே முடியல. I think this is quite an eye-opener for me. Thank you, Nitin, for opening my eyes. So, my journey started many decades back. I've been in the FMCG industry for a very long while. Straight out of business school, my career started in Chennai. I joined Ponds, which was at that time a separate company listed in the stock market, etc. And I started as a management trainee. I was in brand marketing. I went to sales. Then Unilever acquired Ponds globally. And that's how then I was in the Unilever family willy-nilly. Then we decided to do an integration of the Ponds and Lever's sales and distribution system. So at that time I was running sales for Ponds, and then I had to therefore think about how to integrate the two and get the benefit of the much more powerful Lever distribution system for Ponds brands. So we integrated distributors, we integrated the sales team, we integrated a lot of things. And then I moved to Hindustan Lever, so I also got integrated with the Lever company. So that's how I formally became an employee of Hindustan Lever. And so that integration went well, and I think because of the combined power of the two businesses, both businesses benefited. And then I continued in sales but moved to what was called the detergents business, the soaps and detergents business, which was at that time and even today is the largest Lever business. Even at that time it was a billion-dollar business. So I was running sales for that business. Then I wanted to move to marketing back again. So I moved into Bangalore at that time. I was running the marketing for the foods and beverage business, which is a combined Brook Bond and Lipton businesses. Then I went to London. I was there for several years. I was in the corporate strategy group, which was again a big eye-opener because, I had worked all my time in India, and you're used to dealing with Indian problems, business problems. Then you go there, and then I was actually helping the Unilever chief executives, there were two of them, trying to think about what is the strategic direction for Unilever. And the kind of problems they're dealing with were so different to what we were seeing in India. Now they're talking about modern trade. We didn't know what was modern trade in India. Things of that kind. Very different problems. So I got exposed to what I thought could be the problems which could come into India, into Indian businesses well before they actually happened. We came back to India. I left Levers. I joined Dabur. And I was running their business for India, Nepal, Bangladesh for several years. Then the investment bug started biting. I think I was working for a promoter-run company, and I was looking at their mindset and trying to understand how they saw businesses, which is very different from an MNC corporate like Levers. And somewhere I started thinking about why can't I get a bit of their mindset. So then I joined a private equity firm called India Equity Partners, and I was what is called an operating partner there for several years. I helped them invest in a company out of Cochin called Innovative Foods, which was in the frozen food area. Then around a few years after that started, Kawaljeet Singh, who I had known from a lever days, he had gone into the investing world a long time before I did. And he was starting his own venture capital fund. And I was speaking to him for a long time. And then when he decided to start his fund, I told him that this was the most exciting thing that I wanted to spend my time on. So 7 years back, when we did our first close, I came on board at Fireside as a partner and a co-founder. So it's been a 7-year journey at Fireside. Shall I say a bit about Fireside as well?
Yeah,
So we started Fireside with, how do I put it, shall I call it a bet into the future? I mean, Kawal, we'd all spent a long time in the consumer industry in India. And we know, and I think more so me than Kawal, we understand how difficult it is to fight a company like Hindustan Lever or Nestle or any of the big guys, because they have so many advantages on their side. All advantages coming from scale, and using scale, they built a lot of other capabilities. They built R&D capabilities, they built supply chain capabilities, they do global buying. So, they aggregate their demand for soapy oils from across the world, and they go to Malaysia and Indonesia and book, oil for making soap. And obviously, being the largest such buyer in the world, they're going to get the best prices. So if you want to compete with Hindustan Lever selling soap, it's not going to work, right? So that's a kind of advantages. Plus, if you want to build a brand in those days, you had to go on television. And when you go on television, you can't spend a few thousand rupees. You got to spend a few crores of rupees. And it may work, it may fail. So the kind of money you got to put at risk is also very high. So that was the era in which we grew up. But then we saw Flipkart, we saw Amazon, we saw Google, and we felt that this whole area of digital commerce is actually shaping a new way, not just for consumers to buy, but because consumers can buy in a different way, it is actually shaping a different way for companies to compete, right? And that meant that the kind of advantages that big companies had were getting at least leveled. I wouldn't say removed, but at least in many areas, it was becoming a level playing ground. Secondly, you don't have to put crores of money into advertising. You could put thousands of money, a few thousand rupees of money. And that could help you understand whether there is traction for what you're selling and not selling. And therefore, the amount of capital at risk is also going to be much less. So we felt that this was fundamentally reshaping the landscape in India. And also looking outside in, looking at what's happening in markets outside India, we felt that in India, because of the structure of trade and so on, the number of brands are actually very few. And we felt that as India got more affluent and the Indians therefore became more keen to have choice because their needs are also starting to change, they would want more brands. And therefore, if you look at where the consumers are headed, plus where digital commerce was headed, that was going to create a tremendous amount of opportunity. So that's how we raised the fund to say that, look, there is this whole new India of brands which is going to emerge. And, we want to be people who are going to invest in that space. So that was a conviction. obviously, it was a connection which was far ahead of its time. So when we went to raise money, people were saying, are there going to be so many startups in the consumer space? Secondly, are those startups going to scale? And now, of course, when you go to raise money, those are not the questions which are being asked. Because we've invested in Mamaearth, which 2016 December, they actually they cut their first bill. Okay, 2023 November, they went IPO, and they are today worth about $2 billion. Okay, and that is I mean, there are many ingredients in this. I would say one big ingredient is Varun Alagh. Okay, so the founder and how the founder sees it, how the founder shapes himself or herself to handle the challenges of the future, those are hugely critical, right? But having done that, if you get a few things right, I think that story also says that there are very big opportunities that India gives. Okay, so it's not about small little businesses here and there. It's about large opportunities which are possible, right? Now, we want more Varun Alaghs, we want more Mamaearths, and that's why we are in business. So the question of scale is therefore not being addressed. In Fund 1, we did 18 deals in 18 months. Fund 2, we've done 14 deals. In Fund 3, we've now done over 20 deals. So the number of startups that we're investing in, I mean, there's no limit or end. I think we continue to see a lot of startup activity. So we think that the floodgates are open. We think it's not a crowded market. Obviously, not every startup is investable. We are looking for people who are doing something very different. But we think with 1.4 billion Indians, everybody should be able to find different markets with different requirements. And I think that's why we are so excited by the Indian consumer opportunity.
Super, super, sir. When you say that, we look for startups which are investable அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு, so what are the 3 criteria or 3 parameters that you have? இதெல்லாம் இருந்தா I will consider அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு, do you have anything for Fireside Ventures?
I mean, it is at a very high level. Okay. But let's see what we look for. One is the founders are very clear about what problems they're setting out to solve. So there has got to be a problem that the consumer may not even realize that he or she has, but people have to be able to define a problem. That problem, at least in our perception and in the founder's perception, should be a large problem. Okay? Apart from that, the solution that is being proposed by the founders has also got to be something very different to what is in the market. And the difference could be in the product, it could be in the propositioning of the product, or it could be in the business model. There are different ways in which you create differentiation, but differentiation is critical. Because if you don't have differentiation, then you're just going to keep selling at a lower and lower price and you'll run out of money. So in terms of the business construct, I think this is what we're looking for. We're looking for people who are looking to be digital first. And I think that's a starting point. It's not where the business needs to be. But for many of the reasons I mentioned earlier, we think digital first is just more capital efficient. It is less risky, right? And therefore, going head to head with Hindustan Lever, we're not going to invest in that business. Because if you're going to go and say, I want to be in 200,000 retail outlets, and I'm going to put 5 crores on television, we know the chances of failure are going to be very, very high. But if you say, I'm going to be on just my website and Amazon, and I'm going to advertise, only in Mumbai, on Google and Meta, now that makes a lot of sense because you're trying to get some idea of consumer traction, right, with a certain amount of capital. And that's good for you, and that's good for us. Because if you burn up a lot of money, you're going to get diluted. And soon you're going to lose interest in the business. So are we going to get diluted. So that's not good business at all. You've got to manage your risk, and we think therefore being digital first generally is a better way of managing risk. Okay? So that's the second thing, and therefore we look for businesses which are digital first. We're also looking for businesses which are capital efficient. Now, that's not true of all venture capitalists, that's true of us. There are people who are willing to invest in businesses which make losses for a really long time. I mean, a Flipkart still doesn't make money, right? But that's not our game. We want to invest. We believe that good consumer businesses should make money in a reasonable period of time. And that's a reasonable period of time which, we could decide, right? But we think good consumer businesses which get consumer love, get repeat purchase, will make money. So we would like to see a path to profitability. We want to see thinking which is about profitability. And lastly, and most important, it is the founders. Things will go wrong. Business plans will never be met. So these are all almost universal truths. But if there are founders who understand what to do and can redirect the business, then we know it's going to be a success. That business by itself that we invested in may itself change direction, but that's fine. So the business thinking of the founders is super important.
Super, sir. Thank you so much. We'll take one question from the audience.
So we had an ice-breaking session before you came, and these people kind of, நான் வேற எது கேட்கும்போதும் பதில் சொல்லல சார் கிட்ட என்ன கொஸ்டின் கேட்கணும்னு கேட்கும்போது மட்டும் அப்படியே படபடன்னு எல்லாரும் வந்தாங்க. ஸோ அதில் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கொஸ்டின் அவங்க கேட்டது என்னன்னா, when it is pretty much what you covered now. I think, bro, first question is done. Okay, where is miniature? Sir, question covered. So the second question was the financials, other than revenue, what else doesn't you see in a company, and financials, how important it is, in what percentage?
So we invest at a fairly early stage across companies, and that's what we like to do. The other venture capitalists who might invest even before us or later. So we invest in what's called pre-Series A. Now, revenue is important, but revenue is largely important from helping us look at valuation. Okay, so it's not necessarily what helps us decide whether to invest or not, but it helps in fixing a valuation. What helps us decide is what are the indications that there is some customer love. Okay, because you've introduced some products, you've been in the market for some time, right? And what have you learned, what can we learn about whether what you have done is getting traction with consumers? Are people, so what do the Amazon reviews say? Are you 4 plus or minus less than 4? Less than 4, you got problems to fix. Plus 4 looks like you got something going. We call up customers, we want to understand what they have to say about it. Who is saying what brands did they switch from? Are they going to repeat buy? Okay, so repeat purchase is very, very important. Okay, because that tells you whether the insight on which you're creating a business, first, is that insight valid? Second, having got a valid insight, have you developed products which delight the consumer, right? If they do, at least in large part of the consumer business, they're going to come back and buy again. And for most small ticket or not very large ticket consumer products, repeat purchase is where you make money. You may lose money on the first sale, but take Colgate dental cream, right? How much of their business is about people who are buying Colgate dental cream for the first time? How much of their business is about people who are buying it for the 50th time or the 100th time, right? That's why they're rolling in money, right? Now, yes, we understand that the game has to be to keep scaling up, which means you can't be a Colgate dental cream. You can't say 80% of my business is repeat purchase. I don't want that business. But if you say that those who bought my my brand in January came back in February or March and bought again. And you're then doing something interesting, right? People come to me and say that, I have an LTV of so much. Then I ask them LTV over how long? And they say 12 months. Now, if you are selling something which consumers are buying every month, why are you measuring LTV over 12 months? What's the meaning of that? Right? You got to measure it in some manner which works with the consumer's purchase behavior. Now, we have a very different business. We have invested in the sleep company, which sells mattresses. Okay. Now, I can't expect an LTV discussion there, because you buy a mattress, I don't know when you're going to come back into a market for a mattress. So there I want to look at whether you're making money on the first deal or not, right? If you can't make money on the first deal, at least at that deal level, at that first purchase level, then you're not going to make money in the business. So everything is tied to the shopper behavior, the consumer behavior, and how your brand is working in that cycle. Does that help answer the question?
Yes, very much.
A big round of applause, please. So, sir, the third question we had is like, what is your perspective on unconventional business models, like, which is new to market? Because we have an EV company here called Bad Boy, which they are like, coming a middle somewhere between a two-wheeler and a four-wheeler. Okay, and we also have a Tailor Kade where they are developing, an online platform which is similar to Swiggy and Zomato, where they pick up, materials from home, to have an AI bot and all. So, like, to such unconventional business models, like, how does you view it?
So, we invest in disruption. Okay, that's what venture capital is all about, right? Now, we try to understand why the disruption will succeed. So I can't comment on the specific ones you mentioned, but we invest in disruption. Now, we got to understand whether the disruption is going to succeed. So we look to understand why the disruption is interesting from a consumer perspective. For us, what matters is the consumer, and we try to put ourselves in the mind, shoes, whatever of the consumer, and ask ourselves, look, will this work?
How did you measure that?
I think that is where we come into play. Not everything is necessarily there in the numbers, right? We called up a few people, etc. But I think more, our game is half what you may call data, half of it is our own experience and intuition.
So intuition is the answer.
Experience and intuition. Intuition is, I think, comes out of experience as well.
So similarly, as you said, the business was making 7 crores of revenue the time they invested. Consider they were doing a few lakhs. They are very new. Would that been a point of consideration for you to invest in that particular brand?
No, it is. We were not the first investors, by the way.
Okay.
So there were people who invested at an earlier stage and they had put in money.
Okay.
So, not just us, but other people also had, I guess, the same intuition.
Okay.
So they had put in money in that too.
Sir, இப்போ வந்து பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா, since you've been closely working with like different brands like Boat, Mamath, all the top brands, each and every day marketing landscape is like rapidly changing. One day is like AI and influencer marketing, content marketing, performance marketing, different methods of marketing is going there. So, or a takeaway our founders can take, that is something which can they imply right now for their brand. From your observation, what would you suggest, sir?
See, there are, as you say, many levers to pull with it. People start with performance marketing.
Okay.
Because, when you start off, you want to go after people who are already searching for what you're selling.
Okay.
Right? So look at Mamath. They found that they started with baby products, by the way. And they found they had a baby and they found that that baby wasn't taking well to a lot of products which were in the market, sold by some very reputable brands. Okay, and so they decided that they got to, solve for that. Then they found that there were a lot of other people who were also similarly looking for safe to use products. Okay, so they said the first target is to go after people who are already searching, right? So you go for people who are already in the market, and therefore performance marketing works quite well. You can discover those people and convert them using performance marketing techniques. Now, after some time, you think that, look, performance marketing is starting to get either expensive or it's starting to get limited. Then you want to use other methods. But after some time, you realize that even that is reaching its limit. Then you go to do brand marketing, which is really about creating demand, right? And then you do a mix of all of these. It's not that just one or the other. But brand marketing, I find that many founders are, somewhere afraid to go there, because with performance marketing and to a great extent with influencer marketing, you can get attribution. You can connect your spends to the result. With brand marketing, people are unsure. But the fact is that, you got to get over that, right? If you keep spending money only on performance marketing, you'll keep running at a loss. So you got to move to brand marketing, because that is then creating demand, creating the brand, and therefore creating repeat purchase. Yeah, but therefore it's a journey. You can't straight away start with brand marketing, right? Because it's not going to be efficient. You start with people who are already searching, and then sometime or the other you got to look for people who might be interested but don't know that they are interested.
Super, sir. Thank you so much. So let's take one question from the audience.
Hi sir, I think I made a lot of notes. I don't think I made this much notes even in my MBA. Thank you for that. I'm Shantini. I run a B2B business right now called Casa Eco. So we are venturing into D2C, and I want to ask about, as an investor, if I'm coming and pitching, let's say, a deck, what do you expect from the investor or person who's expecting the investment? What do you expect from that pitch for you to invest in?
So I want a clear understanding of the problem you are solving for, right? That is very, very important, because that problem has got to be very clearly defined. So if you take Mama Earth, they said that, look, people want safe to use products. Well-known brands are using ingredients that there is plenty of literature that they are not safe to use, even if they are legal. We make products which are certified by an international authority as safe to use. So the problem and the solution were stated very clearly. We have invested in Sweet Karam coffee here in Chennai. Again, the statement of the problem was very simple, saying that, look, there are a lot of very traditional recipes in South India for snacks, sweets, other products. Now, what used to be made at home is not being made at home. People want to buy the products. There are many people selling the products, but one, are they authentic in taste? Two, people are worried, and it's more of what is a more recent phenomenon. People are worried about the ingredients. People are worried about what condition they are made under. They're worried about hygiene. They're worried about the oil in which it's been used. So we are about selling authentic South Indian products with no palm oil, no maida, no preservatives. I think very, very clear statement of the problem and a statement of what the solution is. Yeah. So I think that is extremely important. Second, I think the question is, why is this a big problem to solve? Now, if you take South India is not a large snacking market. It's not like a Gujarat or a Rajasthan, where I'm told that people start with snacks in the morning and end with snacks after dinner, right? It's not a large snacking market, but it's a large enough snacking market. There is no equivalent of a Haldiram or a Bikaji in South India. So we felt that, yeah, it's a large opportunity if they can execute. So then we try to understand then the statement of the problem is clear, the opportunity is clear. Can these guys execute? Right? So we try to understand that why would you think that these guys can execute? Then we try to understand what is it they know, what is it they don't know. Some founders know it all, even when they don't know it all. And we want a candid discussion of that. Because if people are very sure about what they know and what they don't know, then good founders go and figure out what they don't know. And life is about figuring out. Nobody knows everything. You've got to get the right partnerships, you've got to get the right inputs, the right advices. So you need to know what you don't know, right? So that's something we are looking for, that awareness, call it humility, call it the willingness to learn, right? I think that's again super important. So therefore there's a lot about the founders that becomes very important. So the learnability is important. Equally, the ability to attract and pull together a team becomes very important. So therefore the founder values become very important. If it is a very, and this is very tricky because initially it is all about the founders, because without the founders the business will fall apart, right? So the founders have to be there in the middle of all the problems. They have to get the solutions, they have to execute, etc. But after a certain stage, it can't be only about the founders, right? They have got to pull together a next level team. They've got to give the team space to do things. They got to get people who are better at doing things than they are. They have to accept that other people who can do things better than they can. They got to give them the space to do that, and to yet know when the team is also not doing a great job and how to step in and sort it out, right? So that ability to transition from being great founders to being a great CEO is not common in founders, okay? And it's a very important differentiation, because when you think of great founders, they're very entrepreneurial, they find the opportunities, they are very energetic, go after the opportunities, solve problems, and figure things out. That's great founders. A great CEO pulls a team together, builds a scalable organization, allows people to execute, has a dashboard, understands what's going on, and spends his or her time on not just finding new opportunities, but shaping new opportunities. So the skill set changes, and therefore can the founders that we invest in, are they capable of transitioning? Becomes very important. It's not just about therefore having a great idea, but having the ability to build great organization going into the future. That becomes a major important view that we take. We get it wrong, but if we get it right more often, that's great from our perspective.
On to what you were saying. So you were saying that from Fireside you'll be interested more in online, products which are sold online. So we have a product which we have developed it through the offline market. So we wanted to be at certain places so that that we can get traction, we can understand the product market fit. But that doesn't mean that we are not marketable online, because it is a growing market in the sense that Zepto is starting their own cafes, and the cafe market is definitely it's not yet picked up, but definitely it is in the verge of picking up, right? Because everything like Swiggy, Zepto, all of them are trying to start their own cafe segment very soon. So, and I think it's already started in Mumbai, Zepto Cafe. So, but we are still offline, right? So, when you are, looking into new ventures, would you also consider the fact that although it's currently offline, we still have a lot of scope online, and we are just building the market offline. So, would you? So it is Frelish, I just explained, right? Frelish, which is cafe.
Buttermilk,
products.
roast milk.
Yes, but
No,
roast
there
milk
is
is
resin.
all here,
Tala
and
konja talla. Andar
we
it's
have,
fridge lo.
that's our,
Okay.
yeah, so our
Listen, it's very difficult to answer a very specific question like that. I think, as I said, these are the principles on which we look at things, right? We want to therefore understand whether you can execute online or not, whether Frelish will sell online or not. If we think it can and it can scale, we invest. So the principles remain the same. Specifics change.
No, but does it have to be proven like in advance?
It's a matter of how we think about it at that point in time. Some people will want it to be proven. Some people will be willing to take the risk without it being proven.
And I have another question also. So you were saying that asset heavy, like you like to invest in asset light products, right? So what is the ideal asset turnover ratio?
There's no such ratio. It's a matter of how we think about things. There is no rule. I mean, essentially, when we think about people owning factories, right? We want to know why you want to own a factory. And why do we ask that question? Because we know in transactions, people don't value factories. Okay? They value the brand, they value the turnover, they value the profits. Okay? They're not going to value the fact that you got a factory. So somewhere having a factory must either boost your turnover, boost your margin, right? Must boost one of those financial indicators. And any manufacturing carries with it a separate set of problems. Are those the issues that you want to tackle? Or are there bigger issues for you to tackle? So there must be a very, very good reason for you to own a factory. Like gives you unbelievable competitive advantage, right? If you can understand why it's a competitive advantage. For example, we have invested in the Baker's Dozen, right? Baker's Dozen is very, very tasty breads, cakes, and cookies and all that. They have their own factory, and we understand why they want their own factory. Because these are all short shelf life products, and they supply all over India from that one factory. So for them, controlling not just the production process, but controlling the whole supply chain becomes very important.
That's exactly the reason, because we also have
Yeah.
2014.
So we want to understand why it's a competitive advantage.
Sir, I just want to ask, was the investment made to make a profit or 10x or whatever the thought process you have, but is it only based out of exit model? Okay, either if you are looking on Mama, okay, they went for an IPO. Okay, so is it that only futuristic way of investment you look, or this kind of investment I am doing, this kind of returns I am looking at by end of the 3 years or 4 years, whatever the timeline is that kind of investment is made from your venture or something like that?
The company buys back, you're saying. Is that your point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we will exit. Okay, so we would take maybe 5, 6, 7 years, and we will exit in that period of time. Okay, we want to exit in a way which is good for the company, right? Whether it's a financial investor, strategic investor, or if the company wants to buy us out, I think any one of them is acceptable. But we would exit in a way which is good for the company and its founder. That's our value system.
I understand. So you wait for 5 to 7 years where the good investment comes from.
Yeah.
உங்கள் சைக்கிள் இப்போ ஏதாவது இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் எக்ஸிட் ஆகிருக்கீங்களா சார் இப்போ?
Many exits, no?
ஓகே.
So, அதாவது for example, yoga bar.
யோகா.
Okay, that's fund one investment.
ஓகே.
We invested in 2017. So now ITC is acquiring that company,
கரெக்ட்.
and by 2026 they're going to buy out the founders and us.
ஓ.
Okay, so it's a phased, staggered investment.
ஓகே. ஸோ நீங்கள் ஏர்லி ஸ்டேஜ்லேயே நீங்கள் இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணிட்டீங்களா யோகா பார்ல?
ஆமாம். It was maybe doing 30-40 lakhs a month or so.
ஓ.
Okay.
ஓகே. இப்போ அக்யூசேஷன் காஸ்ட் ஐ திங்க் மோர் தென் 500 crores எவ்வளோ அந்த ரேஞ்சில் தான் பார்க்குறேன். சொல்ல மாட்டீங்களா? சொன்னீங்கன்னா அந்த கலெக்ட் செய்ததில் போதும். சூப்பர் சார். எனி அதர் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் ஃப்ரம் த ஃபவுண்டர்ஸ்? அபினேஷ் ப்ரோ.
சார் எவ்வளோ ரிட்டர்ன்ஸ் கொடுத்தா நீங்கள் சந்தோஷமா இருக்கீங்க? வெஞ்சர்
என்னென்ன?
சந்தோஷமாக இருக்கும். மினிமம் எக்ஸ்பெக்டேஷன்ஸ்.
I mean, I'll tell you about our investors. Okay, because if they are happy, we are happy, right? So, venture capital is the riskiest form of investment. Okay, because we are investing at a very early stage, so chances of failure are very high. So, return expectations are also high. So, when you look at large investors who have got large corpus to invest, so most of the corpus will be in public markets or in debt instruments. Then they will have some allocation for private equity, then a smaller allocation for venture capital. So that smaller allocation is where we get our money from. Okay, and the expectation is that this is riskier, therefore the return should be higher. Okay, so we are expected to give an IRR of 25% plus. And even that at times gets challenged, because if the public markets are doing very well, they'll say, why should I lock up my money for 10 years when I can put money in the stock market and every year is giving me 25%? Right? So we have to beat the public markets by a wide margin.
I want to be a venture capitalist by next 10 years. So,
You're welcome to join the crowd.
சூப்பர். ஸ்வாதி?
So, valuation, funding, எல்லாம் okay. But one question is, how do I know when to get funding? எனக்கு இப்போ the runway I had is exhausted. But is it about just the money, or how do I know, okay, this is my right time to go to a VC or someone apart from my VC family or friends?
I mean, one reason to go to a VC is money, right? So if you need money, yes. But venture capitalists are also institutional investors. So they have their own processes. And when you get them on board, you then have to accept that there will be some changes in the way you work. First is that you will have to enter into an agreement with the venture capitalist, right? And they will have a lot of conditions. And then you will say, what am I doing? Why am I entering into all these conditions, right? So you got to accept the fact that it's not their money. They're raising money from somebody else, right? And therefore they have to protect their interest. And after all, you're a risky venture. So when I'm putting money into a risky venture, I will ask for rights. Okay? So that you should be ready to accept. If you're not ready to accept, you should not go to venture capital. Second, they'll want to be on your board. Okay? And part of the rights will be a lot of rights about saying, I want to have a right to agree or disagree with many things that you want to do in your business. Okay? Now, you need to understand whether you want to give those rights or not. Right? Then, so that's part of it all. But venture capitalists also can provide a lot of help. So are they the kind of people who can help you? So what kind of help can you expect from a venture capitalist? You should expect, can they help you with your business strategy? Can they help you with hiring? Can they help you with scaling on some of the e-commerce platforms and other things? Can they help you with governance? Can they help you with your next fundraise? So you should have your list of things that you think you can do with help, right? And which your family and friends may not be able to provide. So will the venture capitalists not just give money, but also provide as a help in along all of these things? If they can, then you go to a venture capitalist.
So it's basically a mutual relationship that you want to.
It's a long-term relationship. It's not just a mutual thing, because I said we are invested for 6-7 years. So it has got to be a relationship based on trust, that neither side will abuse the trust. Just because we have got rights, we can't come and say, okay, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like that, That's not a relationship based on trust. So you have to understand whether you can trust the other person. It works both ways. If you think there is a founder that we are not confident that we can work with, we stay away from it. Because we've got to be working with them for several years, right? And that means that on both sides there has got to be comfort, right? So if you, as a founder, see the venture capitalist as interfering, it's never going to work, right? All the time there will be discomfort and fights, and neither you want it nor the venture capitalist. Yeah?
So you should be basically ready to get into a long-term relationship.
Oh yes, it's worse than marriage.
யாருமே ரெடியா இல்லை சார் இப்போ சார் இப்போ வந்து I'm a first time founder and I'm going to Fireside Ventures வெப்சைட்டில் போகிறேன், என்னோட ப்ராடக்ட் ஐடியாவை நான் பிச் பண்ணுறேன் and I'm uploading my deck and everything. So how Fireside Ventures will process and how long will it take? இந்த ஒரு ஸ்டெப்ஸ் எங்களுக்கு கைட் பண்ண முடியுமா?
So there are many ways to get to Fireside Ventures, one of which is via the website.
Okay.
But also our own team is also looking for interesting ideas.
Okay.
So somebody from our team or other venture capital teams may reach out to you.
Okay.
Or there may be events like this, and then you understand each other and then you reach out. So there are many different ways of talking to a venture capitalist, or you know somebody who knows somebody, that also.
Okay.
So all of those things are there. Having done that, like at Fireside at least, our team is organized by sector. So there's somebody who handles beauty, personal care, somebody else handles food, a third person who handles fashion, lifestyle, a fourth guy handles health. So there are teams working on each of these sectors. So any deck that you send will go to one of the relevant team, and they will look at it in terms of whether they think this is interesting. And then if it is interesting, they will reach out, have a call, okay? And therefore, that conviction has to build within the team that this is something which is investable. So honestly, there is in some situations, the conviction arises very quickly. In sometimes it takes some time to build the conviction. So it depends on how clearly we are able to understand where the founders are going. If the founder's statement of the business problem and what it takes to solve it is very, very clear, things can move fast. But if there is lack of clarity, then I think the job of the team inside Fireside is to try and see whether, though there may be confusion, but within that, can there be clarity? Yeah. After that, then they come to the investment committee, and they present to the investment committee, and the investment committee says, okay, this is interesting. Then we would like to meet the founding team. Then the founding team comes into our office and makes a presentation to the entire Fireside investment team.
Okay.
After which the investment committee again meets and takes a final call.
Okay.
And then after that, we issue a term sheet. Once the term sheet is signed off, then there is a diligence process, which is principally about legal diligence and financial diligence, right? And some diligence around the founders. Once that's all completed, and then we understand what are things which may need to be done before an investment can happen and after the investment happens. Once that is done, then we enter into documentation on all these terms and conditions I was speaking about. And once that is done, then money goes in.
And what's the timeline that we are looking at?
It can take 2 months, it can take 6 months. It's entirely a question of, how clear the
Documentation.
how clear the investment proposal is,
Okay.
and thereafter everything else. If the lawyers, with the accountants, for example, sometimes we find that many companies who have been in existence for 3-4 years, and they might have started off as a partnership, then they converted to a company, right? And in that process, understanding what has transpired in that company's finances over a few years, it takes a lot of doing. Or we find that a lot of the records are not put together very well, financial records. Or on the legal side, there are things which are missing. Or due to maybe somewhere the guidance for the team was not great, they've taken some legal missteps, okay, which need to be corrected, right? So all of that, it depends on very specifically the individual situation. If a company has been in existence 6 months, 1 year, then there's not much financial records to see, right? Hardly any legal records to see. That then, if we are very convinced, then the whole thing happens very fast.
And what is the minimum check size that we are looking at?
It has varied a lot.
Okay.
Varied a lot.
Okay.
There's no real minimum or maximum. I mean, there is a maximum, but like in our history, we have put in 4 or 5 crores, but typically we would like to put in somewhere between 5 to 10 crores.
Okay.
But then it's a range.
We can do that.
No, I was going to ask, what is the importance or relevance to a founder's branding in a D2C brand specifically, because you can see a lot of D2C brands being led by a founder presence online especially. So how important is that? How important is to put energy to it and so on?
இது ரொம்ப இன்னும் நிறைய ஃபவுண்டர்ஸ்க்கு இந்த ஒரு கொஸ்டின் இருக்குது. இப்போ நிறைய பர்சனல் பிராண்டிங், ஃபவுண்டர் லெட் க்ரோத், ஃபவுண்டர்ஸ் டர்னிங் இன்டு கிரியேட்டர்ஸ், ஸோ இதெல்லாம் நிறைய நீங்கள் அப்சர்வ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கீங்க. ஸோ எனி தாட்ஸ் ஆன் இட், சார்?
It's again a wide range of things that we see in our portfolio. Some founders like Varun and Ghazal are like mini celebs. Not so much from a business point of view, but from an employer branding point of view. Some amount of founder branding is, I think, important. Because, when somebody joins your company, they want to know a lot about you. Okay? So how well you are able to help people understand the employer branding of your company. I think that's where some of these things come in helpful. So I find a lot of Ghazal's posts, for example, talks about women at work, what are the kind of issues women face, how she resolves some of the issues, what she thinks are issues to be resolved. I think it helps women a lot to say, okay, look, this very successful woman has gone through all of this and dealt with some of these things. And so it inspires, I think, a lot of people, right? And some of them may feel like joining Honasa because they think that a sensitive founder like that is leading that company. So I think I would put a greater emphasis on founder branding coming more from a perspective of employer branding rather than saying it does a lot for the business.
And do you think a brand should build a community around itself, sir? Adu work aguma?
Well, I think again there is no generic response. Communities which are clearly seen to be just pushing a brand, I don't think that works. Okay? Because everybody knows that that's a commercial place. But actually, if the conversation in the community is of interest areas, which also are the interest areas of the brand, that then has got a life of its own. Okay? So, for example, you're boat and you're creating a community around music. And then you have content out there which is seriously about music, right? Then I think that community is going to flourish. But it's all about saying, here is a new product from Boat all the time. I don't see why somebody would be interested in that unless you're just so much a boat head. Yeah.
Super, super, sir.
Excuse
Thank
me,
you.
I would like to add up to this. Being a founder creator in digital media, I think that it helps you in 0 to 1. Maybe not in the next level. To take your brand from 0 to 1, I think my CAC has gone wrong. I'm acquiring a customer for 50 rupees in this stage. So I think being a creator helps you leverage in 0 to 1.
Exactly.
Interesting. Thank you.
Turned founder. Yeah, bro.
எனக்கு என்ன அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ணணும்னா ஸோ சிக்ஸ் இயர்ஸ் சைட் இதாக இன்வெஸ்டிங் சீரீஸ் லெவல் ப்ரீ சீரீஸ் ஆர் சீரீஸ் இருக்குங்க சீட் லெவலில் கவர்மெண்ட் இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் ஃபண்ட் பண்ணாங்க தேவை குட் அமௌண்ட் ஆஃப் ஸ்டாக் இருக்குது அந்த டைமில் நீங்கள் கன்சிடர் பண்ணுவீங்களா சீட் லெவலில் சம் கவர்மெண்ட் இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் லைக் டான்ஸிம் தமிழ்நாடு இன்ஃப்ராஸ்ட்ரக்சர் ஒரு அப்போ வந்து அதோட இம்பாக்ட் எப்படி இருக்கும் நெக்ஸ்ட் லெவல் நீங்கள் ஃபண்ட் பண்ணுவீங்க.
See, I seriously don't have much experience of investing in government-funded companies. I don't know why, but at least in our portfolio, we're not seen much of that. I would like to understand what is the agreement between the company and the government organization. Okay. For example, we deal a lot with SIDBI. SIDBI is also invested in one of the funds. SIDBI does venture debt with some of our. We are very comfortable with those agreements. But it's a matter of what kind of agreements are gone in there. So, for example, if there are conditions like you can't invest in a certain kind of product area, or you can't do a certain kind of business, then we want to understand whether that is limiting or not limiting, right? So it's about understanding the specifics of the conditions, I suppose.
இந்த லிமிடேஷன் இப்போ கவர்மெண்ட் போர்டில் ஒரு கவர்மெண்ட் இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் ஒருத்தர் இருக்காரு அப்போ வந்து நீங்கள் ஆஸ் பிசி நீங்கள் கிளியராக சொல்லிட்டீங்க அவர் ஏன் இன்ஸ்டியூட் கேட்கணும் அப்போ வந்து ஸ்கேல் அப் ஆகும்போது ஒரு மாஸ் மார்க்கெட்டில் ஸ்கேல் அப் ஆகும்போது தே மேக் இட் சம் ரெஸ்ட்ரிக்ஷன் இது மோனோபொலியா மாதிரி போகலாம் அப்போ நீங்கள் பண்ணக்கூடாதுன்ற மாதிரி ஒரு போர்டில் இருக்கும்போது இருந்தால் இதை நீங்கள் கன்சிடர் பண்ணிட்டு பெட்டர்
We want to understand the specifics of their investment. See, if they are being very restrictive, then we are not interested, right? But if they are not restrictive, they are meaningful conditions, then we are comfortable. So, if you take Titan, they got government investment in them. But that hasn't restricted Titan at all, and Titan has become what it is. So, I think we have to understand the specifics before we know whether we want to invest or not. And that is true of, not just the government, but it's also true of any previous investment which has gone in. We want to know if there are any conditions which will inhibit either the business or future valuations.
I have a question. Hello. Hi sir. Nice meeting you. My name is Bilal. I started my first company about 11 years from now. We are into computer repairs and computer sales. That's how it initially started. 5 years later, we bought another company or competition, and we got into like real hardcore embedded system repairs. And during COVID, the entire business model changed. We got into computer rentals, and we made fortune. And very recently, I exited that company with decent value. So I've been free for the last 2 years. So I've been working on a new project. It's called Revo 365. We are opening 5 stores in Chennai right now. We are kind of branding it as e-sustainable stores where consumers can come buy used computers and cell phones at a very reasonable price, doing good service to the country by buying used computers so that we reduce e-waste. At the same time, we are parallelly looking at repairing computers in front of the consumer, thus reducing their anxiety. And we are then doing some talks with few people to scale this to like 50 to 100 stores. So just on the idea level, I have certain people who are willing to kind of raise funds, but I am not prepared to raise funds at the moment. But I really want to understand how do you want me to take it further? Because for the first 5 stores, I will write through my experience, because the 5 stores will generate profits on its own, all in the premium areas. And my head office out of which is Chennai, Anasale. I already have a lot of connections in corporate worlds, wherein the laptop rentals will actually generate huge revenue. I really think if you or any of you people can help me with the discovery call, see if we can work together, or I don't know, can you please help me with that?
Honestly, I know nothing about your area of business, okay, because we are very, very consumer oriented in what we do. So I don't think I'm the right guy to give you any advice.
One last question.
So maybe out of I'm asking, I'm concerned about impact investment. Like as you said, there is a problem statement, there is a solution clearly validated. We have reached 5 lakh crore. I am Chandrasekhar. We do water purifiers without electricity, without wastage of water, and without changing the membrane. We have done a lot of rural areas. Branding, we have a trademark also, but we cannot brand like any other companies like what you have seen. What is the space? Because we know the rural area really need these type of products. Affordable, do-it-yourself and easy to use type of products. But we are not getting the right investors who can look into the impact part of it. We fit all the bill. As you said, whatever is there in the pitch deck, we fit everything. But still investors are hesitating to put money in. So VC may not be the right choice. Are there angel investors or impact investors who can fill the gap? Thank you.
Honestly, I don't know. Impact investors are also for-profit investors. Okay, unless you go to some foundation or the other.
It's a for-profit company only.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying from an investor perspective.
And it is bullshit.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe you should go to some of the investors who have turned you down to understand why they turned you down. Trajectory is rapid enough, or your capital consumption is efficient or not. So maybe those are some of the questions that you need to pick up with the people you have talked to think of what in your business plan may need a change.
So, like any other questions? Begin.
So it's about how old should a company be? Sometimes some people come to you for investment in the first year or 6 months like that. So is there a timeline after which you don't invest in companies, or is that something like that?
No, absolutely not. We have, like Honasa, we invested about 7 months after they did their first sale, right? Sweet Karam Coffee in Nalini started the business in 2015, okay, and we invested in 23, right? So it took them a lot of time to figure out what was their proposition, why it should be interesting, what is the difference between what they do and what a lot of other people in the same business are doing. It took some time for them to figure it out, and therefore it took some time for them to figure out why they're investable. Yeah. So it honestly, there's no template on that. I think it's about being investable rather than how much time has gone by.
Sir, இப்போ நம்ம சென்னையில் இப்போ நிறைய கன்சூமர் பிராண்ட்ஸ் நீங்கள் பார்த்துருக்கீங்க, அண்ட் யூ இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணி ஒன்லி ஒன் ஸ்வீட் காரம் காஃபி மட்டும் தான் இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க. ஸோ சவுத்தில் வரதுக்கு சான்சஸ் எப்படி சார் இருக்கு? Fireside Ventures
சவுத்தில் பெங்களூரில் நிறைய பண்ணியிருக்கோம் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட்.
பெங்களூர் விடுங்க சார், நான் பெங்களூர் சென்னைக்கு எப்போ?
So let us say that today is a new day.
Yeah.
And hopefully there are some very good startups here.
Super, okay. Okay. We can expect something coming out of this even entrepreneurs Madras மூலமா.
I am sure there will be.
Super, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Great, sir. So, thank you so much for sharing all your insights, and thank you so much for coming today, sir.